Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
When I was 11, I started getting these horrible migraines that would completely knock me out. We never got an official diagnosis, but given that two of my aunts and a cousin had the same symptoms, we figured it was fibromyalgia. These weren't your regular headaches. They were absolute torture. I couldn't see straight, every tiny sound felt like someone was drilling into my skull, and once they hit, I was down for at least 16 hours. The aftermath wasn't any better. I'd be weak and in pain for another full day after each episode. These migraines made me throw up so often that my teeth started getting damaged from all the stomach acid. I ended up needing most of them replaced. These episodes would strike anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week with barely any warning. Things got really rough during my high school final exams. I was missing so much school that I had to drop 2 subjects just to keep up. I kept medication at school, hoping I could at least delay the worst of it when an episode hit during classes. My school was amazing about it all. The teachers bent over backward to help me catch up, giving me extensions and extra support. Even my classmates, who I barely talked to since I was super shy, would share their notes and help me understand what I'd missed. They saw firsthand what these migraines did to me, so they knew I wasn't faking. But then there was the substitute science teacher. Our regular teacher was taking time off because his wife was having a difficult pregnancy, so we got stuck with this awful woman I'll call Karen. She was the worst kind of teacher, the type who just read from textbooks without explaining anything. Whenever we asked questions, she would call us stupid and tell us to just read the information that was right there in front of us, saying we didn't need any help. She gave us way too much homework, wouldn't let anyone use the bathroom, even during emergencies, and basically treated everyone like we were lying about everything. I could tell she didn't like me from the dirty look she'd give me, but she never said anything directly, so I tried to ignore it. Then came that summer day in her class. I could feel a migraine coming on during her double period, and I knew it was going to be bad. In our school, all medications had to be kept in the medical room unless they were for immediate life-threatening conditions. I raised my hand and politely asked for permission to go to the medical room. She dismissively told me to just wait. I knew I couldn't wait. The migraine was coming fast, and I needed my preventative medication before it got worse. I raised my hand again and explained that I really needed my medication right away. That's when she lost it. She started screaming at me in front of everyone. She called me a liar and accused me of playing up my headaches for attention. She berated me for skipping so much school and told me I should be ashamed of my behavior. Then she said something that made the whole class go silent. She claimed that she got migraines too, and she knew I was lying because if I really had one, I wouldn't be able to sit in class with the lights on. She told me that I would be in actual pain if it were real, and ordered me to get back to my work and stop being a drama queen. The entire class was shocked. They'd all seen me suffer through these migraines. Some had even seen me pass out from the pain once at the top of some stairs. But I couldn't focus on the reactions because the migraine was hitting me full force now. Her yelling had made everything so much worse. The pain was unbearable. The lights were blinding me, and I could feel the nausea rising. Before she could walk away or say another word, I bent over and threw up all over her legs and her fancy open-toed sandals. Turns out Karen was a sympathetic vomiter. As soon as I threw up on her, she started throwing up too. She was standing there covered in sick, trying to handle the situation while the whole class watched in complete shock. I was pretty out of it by then, but my friends told me later that one girl ran to get the office to call my mom while the rest of the class watched Karen's meltdown. Some of them were trying not to laugh as she hopped around, covered in vomit, trying to clean herself up. I had a few more classes with her after that, but she never stopped me from getting my medication again. And those sandals, never saw them again. Guess some shoes just can't be saved from karma. I moved to this neighborhood about 3 years ago. My wife and I chose this place specifically because it seemed perfect for raising our two kids, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. The house needed some work, but I spent months renovating it, including installing a sturdy metal gate at the front of our property for extra security. Ironic how that same gate would later become the center of such chaos. It was a regular Sunday afternoon. My wife was in the kitchen preparing lunch while the kids were watching cartoons in the living room. I was in my home office catching up on some work when I heard this tremendous crash from outside. The whole house seemed to shake. I rushed to the window and saw this massive pickup truck had plowed right into our front gate. The gate was bent at an awkward angle, barely hanging on its hinges. Before I could even process what was happening, this guy, built like a linebacker, jumped out of his truck and started screaming at the top of his lungs. He was yelling that he knew his wife was in there and demanded that she come out, calling me a homewrecker. I opened the window and asked him what he was talking about and who he was looking for. He responded by telling me not to play dumb, explaining that his wife's car wasn't at home and that his buddy had seen her around this neighborhood. He was convinced I was sleeping with his wife. At this point, my wife came to see what all the commotion was about. When she asked what was going on, the angry man spotted her and started yelling even louder. He accused me of having my own wife at home while messing around with his, calling me garbage. He started kicking at our front door while I quickly called the police. My wife took the kids upstairs to their room, and I could hear them crying, completely terrified by what was happening. On the phone, I explained to the dispatcher that there was a man trying to break into my house who had already destroyed my gate with his truck and pleaded with them to hurry. The man continued his rampage, shouting death threats through the door while kicking it repeatedly. He warned that he would kill me when he got inside and that I couldn't hide forever. The next 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. This guy kept alternating between trying to break down our door and circling the house, looking for another way in. He even tried to climb through a window, but thankfully couldn't fit his large frame through it. Finally, 2 police cars pulled up with their sirens blaring. The angry man didn't even try to run. He just kept yelling about his wife and how I was going to pay for destroying his marriage. The first officer ordered him to step away from the house and put his hands where they could see them. The man just kept ranting, demanding they arrest me for sleeping with his wife. After a final warning from the second officer, they eventually got him handcuffed, though it took both officers to restrain him. When they ran his license plate, it turned out he had a record of domestic violence from his previous marriage. Great. 3 weeks later, I was getting estimates to repair the gate when my next-door neighbor knocked on my door. He looked nervous and couldn't quite meet my eyes. He confessed that the angry man's wife had indeed been in the neighborhood that day, but she had been with him. They had been seeing each other for a few months, and he apologized profusely for my family getting caught up in their mess. Turns out the angry man's buddy had seen his wife's car in our neighborhood. All right, just at the wrong house. My neighbor offered to pay for the gate repairs, which I accepted. The angry man ended up getting charged with criminal trespassing, destruction of property, and making terroristic threats. His now ex-wife testified against him about his history of violent behavior, and he got sentenced to 2 years in prison plus mandatory anger management counseling. We upgraded our security system after that, installed cameras everywhere, and got an even sturdier gate. My kids still get nervous when they hear loud noises outside, but they're slowly getting better. The silver lining? Our neighborhood started a community watch program because of this incident, and we're all a lot closer now. Well, except for my neighbor, he moved away a few months later. Can't say I blame him. I met my husband 12 years ago at a local coffee shop where I was working while finishing my degree in graphic design. He was this incredibly sweet regular customer who would always leave generous tips and actually remembered my drink recommendations. After dating for 2 years, he proposed, and that's when I was formally introduced to his family, including his 3 older sisters. The oldest sister, let's call her Karen, immediately made it clear that she wasn't impressed by me. According to her, I wasn't good enough for her baby brother. At first, I tried really hard to win her over. I'd help with family events, offered to babysit her kids, even helped her move apartments twice, But nothing was ever good enough. Every family gathering turned into the Karen show. If someone got a promotion, she'd talk about how she was passed over for one because her boss was intimidated by strong women. If another sister bought a new car, Karen would spend an hour explaining why her 10-year-old sedan was actually superior and how everyone else was just falling for marketing tricks. My personal favorite was when I started my own graphic design business, and she told everyone at Thanksgiving dinner that she could do my job too, but chose not to because she cared about having a real career. Mind you, this was right after she quit her fourth job that year because her co-workers were all conspiring against her. Every Christmas, she'd send out these elaborate texts listing exactly what she wanted as gifts. Not suggestions, demands. And they weren't small things either. We're talking expensive perfumes, fancy bags, and specific brands of makeup that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. Last Christmas, she sent her usual text. This time she went into great detail about her demands, listing specific items, like a brown leather Coach bag, explicitly stating not to get the black one, a full-size Joe Malone Orange Blossom perfume, and some expensive facial cream from Sephora she'd shown everyone the previous month. But what really stood out was her aggressive insistence about not wanting any popcorn. She complained about how she used to eat it all the time but was sick of getting it every year, mentioning that she'd received 5 boxes the previous Christmas. That's when I had my brilliant idea. You see, Karen had this habit of making everything into a huge drama, so I figured, why not give her something real to complain about? I went to the store and bought the fanciest, most expensive gourmet popcorn I could find. I'm talking about that ridiculous triple-flavored stuff that comes in a fancy tin. I wrapped it in this gaudy gold paper I'd never used for anyone else and wrote her name in big block letters with a Sharpie. Christmas Day arrived and I strategically placed my anonymous gift behind the tree. The gift exchange started normally, Karen criticizing everyone's choices as usual. When she opened a scarf from one of her sisters, she immediately complained about already having one in blue, barely acknowledging that it was cashmere and exactly what she'd asked for. Then it happened. One of our sisters-in-law gave her a box of caramel popcorn. Karen immediately launched into a tirade about how no one had read her text and how she specifically said no popcorn. She went on about how no one ever listens to her or respects her wishes. When her sister apologized and offered to have her kids take it, Karen just passive-aggressively replied that she'd figure something out herself, like she always had to. Just when everyone thought the drama was over, someone spotted my gift tucked behind the tree. The moment she opened it, her face turned 3 shades of red. She immediately demanded to know who was responsible, insisting that someone was trying to mock and humiliate her in front of everyone. She even tried to get our mother-in-law involved, asking if she'd seen who put the gift there. She spent the next 15 minutes examining the wrapping paper, comparing handwriting, and demanding answers from everyone in the room. Meanwhile, I just sat there sipping my hot chocolate, enjoying the show I created. I didn't tell my husband until we were driving home. When I finally confessed, he laughed so hard he had to pull over. He pointed out that this made everything even better because Karen would definitely bring this up at every family gathering for the next year, and I'd be the only one who knew the truth. He was right. She's mentioned the Christmas popcorn incident at every family event since then, theorizing about who could have done it. Each time she brings it up, I just smile and nod, knowing that I'm the architect of the very thing she can't stop obsessing over. I've been friends with my best friend since high school. We bonded over our shared love of art and spent countless afternoons sketching together in the school courtyard. Her mother was like a second mom to me, always welcoming me into their home with open arms and making sure I never left hungry. She was the kind of person who'd remember your birthday, your favorite color, and even your pet's name. When my friend's mother was diagnosed with cancer last summer, it hit us all hard. I promised myself I'd be there for my friend through everything, just like she and her family had been there for me all these years. The doctors were optimistic about the surgery, saying they caught it early enough. Everything seemed to be going according to plan until it wasn't. It was during the holiday season when things took a turn for the worse. A few days after the surgery, her mother developed pneumonia. I visited them regularly, watching helplessly as her condition deteriorated over the next few days. My friend and her grandmother, who had legal guardianship over her mother due to the surgery, were doing their best to care for her at home. Then came that terrible day. I was there when my friend's mother became unresponsive. The panic in my friend's eyes as she called emergency services is something I'll never forget. When the emergency medical service operator arrived, she barely looked at the patient. She dismissed our concerns, saying the patient just needed rest after the surgery. My friend's grandmother tried to explain that the patient wasn't responding to them at all, but the operator insisted this was normal and told us to just keep her comfortable. Despite our protests, they left. The next couple of hours were agonizing. My friend's mother remained unresponsive, and we knew something was terribly wrong. We called emergency services again, and the same operator showed up. My friend begged her to take her mother to the hospital, insisting something wasn't right. Her grandmother even emphasized that she was the legal guardian and was requesting medical attention. But the operator stubbornly repeated that everything was fine and refused to transport the patient. How could a medical professional refuse to transport an unresponsive patient? But the worst was yet to come. Shortly after they left again, my friend's mother started choking and having spasms. We immediately called emergency services for the third time. Thank God a different operator arrived this time. He took one look at the situation and sprang into action, expressing shock that she hadn't been transported earlier given her critical condition. He immediately got her into the ambulance and rushed her to the hospital. Despite the medical team's best efforts, my friend's mother passed away a few days later. My friend was devastated, but being the gentle soul she is, she didn't want to cause trouble by pursuing action against the first operator. That's when I decided to step in. I reached out to a friend who used to work as an emergency medical technician, and what they told me made my blood boil. They explained that emergency medical service operators can't simply refuse to transport patients who want to go to the hospital. There are strict protocols they must follow, including having patients sign refusal forms if they don't want to be transported. None of this happened in our case. I convinced my friend to speak with a medical malpractice attorney. The attorney was appalled when he heard our story and agreed to take the case. The case never made it to court. The emergency medical services company settled out of court for a substantial amount. More importantly, the operator was fired and had her license revoked. My friend used part of the settlement money to set up a foundation in her mother's name, helping families dealing with post-surgery complications get proper medical care. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.